When I saw that HOA cabin sitting bold as daylight on my land, I didn't call a lawyer, and I sure as hell didn't call the cops. No, sir. I set a trap. 30 days later, Karen herself was caught on camera cutting my fence, then lying about it to a judge with a straight face. That was the end of it, at least the end of her story. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: you don't really know what kind of person someone is when life's easy. You find out when there's land paperwork and somebody convinced the rules were written just for them. You know what I mean? That morning, well, it started like most of mine do nowadays. Quiet, predictable, the sort of quiet you gotta earn with a few decades and a couple scars. Woke up before sunrise, poured myself a cup of black coffee, and stepped out on the porch while the air was still clean and cool. Smelled like pine and wet earth. No traffic. No HOA newsletters taped to the door. Just birds and the wind in those old trees older than anybody living in this county. That's my routine. Every morning I walk a stretch of my boundary. Not out of paranoia, but because my old man drilled it into me: land don't protect itself. Over the years, I've handled my share of little things. Hikers lost their way, a tent set up where it shouldn't be, once even a couple in an RV by the creek. That usually ends with a handshake and an apology. Folks respect a line once you show them where it is. That's why what I saw that morning flat out punched me in the gut. At first, it was just a shape, a straight line in a world that's supposed to curve. Something rigid cutting through the natural. Squinting through the brush, I figured it wasn't a tent, wasn't a shed, it was a cabin. New lumber, sharp corners, glass windows catching the first light. Not some accident, not a misunderstanding. It was the kind of thing folks build when they want to be seen. Or maybe they want to test you. I didn't rush, didn't raise my voice. I felt cold, honestly, because if you build something like that deep on land that isn't yours, you're not hoping nobody'll notice. You're betting they'll blink first. I stood there a long moment listening to the forest wake up, then pulled out my phone and double-checked the GPS, cross-referenced my dad's old survey just to be sure. No doubt the cabin sat well inside my line. Not near it, not brushing it inside. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a mistake. It was someone betting I'd give up before they did. Folks like that, they don't fear a fight, they fear a record. So I took photos, nothing dramatic, just facts, time, location, clear shots. Then I walked back home, coffee still warm in my hand. I didn't call anybody. Not yet. React emotionally and you lose control. I wanted to see how far they'd go if they thought no one was watching. That cabin wasn't the problem. It was the invitation. Did I rush back? No way. That's how you miss what matters. I let the day settle. Then took my truck the long way around, coming in from the lower ridge so I'd see the tracks coming in and out. Parked back in the trees and just stood at the edge of the clearing, taking it all in. This wasn't about a cabin. It was about leverage. HOAs, they don't build fast unless they think time's on their side. If it stands long enough, folks stop questioning it. And once folks stop questioning it, it becomes tradition. I wasn't letting it get that far. I made my first move, walked back to the truck, grabbed a steel post and a roll of bright red no trespassing signs. The cheap kind loud, can't miss 'em. Didn't put 'em right by the cabin. That's too obvious. Instead, I found the faint path leading back to the HOA subdivision, drove the post right where anyone coming through would have to see it. One sign chest high facing them. Took a photo wide, close-up GPS coordinates burned right in. Not blocking, not fighting, just drawing a line. If they respected the law, that sign would settle it. If they didn't, well, now I had evidence. Next morning, before I even finished my coffee, my phone buzzed motion alert from one of the trail cams. I didn't rush. I poured my coffee, took a seat and watched. Headlights, unfamiliar SUV doors open, voices low and annoyed. Flashlight lands on my sign. Somebody laughs. Not nervous, just irritated, like, who does this guy think he is? A woman steps into frame, blonde bob, neat jacket, clipboard smile that didn't reach her eyes. She read the sign, shook her head, said something I couldn't quite catch, then pointed at the sign and down the path toward the cabin. One guy looked like he wanted to rip the sign out, but she stopped him. Not yet. That was my first look at Karen. By mid-morning, she was at my gate. Didn't even knock. Just walked up, clipboard in hand, HOA president badge like I was supposed to salute. 3 more with her 2 men, 1 woman, all in branded polos. Karen led with the fake smile. "Good morning, I'm Karen Westbrook, president of the HOA." Like she expected me to bow. We noticed a sign this morning along the access trail. It's causing some confusion. That area has traditionally been used by our community. Not a question, a decree. I just nodded. It's my land. Her smile got tighter. Well, this section has historically been treated as shared space. There's been a cabin there for... No, I said, calm as Sunday. There hasn't. She blinked, irritated, not surprised. I let the silence stretch. She tried again. Perhaps you're not familiar with the local arrangements. Our board approved the structure as a community retreat. It's well within our jurisdiction. When did the board vote on it? Her eyes flicked to her clipboard. It was discussed internally. I'm not asking about discussion. I'm asking about a vote. One of the men shifted his feet, wouldn't meet my eye. Karen cleared her throat. The board authorized me to proceed. That's not a vote, I said. Smile tightened again. Look, she said, you just moved back here. There's no need to start things off on the wrong foot. We value cooperation. So do I said. She nodded, thinking I agreed. That sign, it needs to come down. It's misleading. The sign stays. That was it. Her jaw set. You don't have the authority to restrict access. I do. On my land. You're creating a problem where there doesn't need to be one. No, I'm documenting one. That's when she broke. She turned low, voice told her guy to take care of it. He hesitated, but Karen wasn't one for doubts. Now. They left. I stood on the porch long after the sound of that SUV faded. Didn't even need to check the cameras, I knew what would happen next. And sure enough, they came back that afternoon, broad daylight, like they owned the place. Camera showed the same SUV, two men, one the hesitator, the other not. Straight for the sign. Bolt cutters. One squeezed the wire, snapped sign, hit the dirt. Then, just to make a point, he bent the steel post like it was nothing, kicked the sign into the brush. All on camera, clear as day. I didn't get angry. I got confirmation. It wasn't about who owned the land anymore. It was about who'd destroy property knowing they were being watched. That night, I didn't replace the sign. Left the scene just as it was photographed, everything, filed it away. Then I wrote a letter, not an email, not a text, a real letter. Formal as they come, sent, certified, signature required. Laid out the facts, the sign was on my land, had been cut down, post bent, video attached. Gave them 30 days to remove their structures. After that, it'd be considered abandoned and I'd handle it. Karen's reply wasn't to me, but to the whole neighborhood, community-wide email about misunderstandings and safety concerns, claimed the sign was dangerous, warned folks not to talk to me. Never denied a thing, just reframed it. Next morning, I put the sign back up, added a second area under video surveillance. No threats, just facts. If she crossed the line again, she'd be dealing with the prosecutor, not me. I waited a day. Let the evidence age. On the second morning, I put up a real fence, 8-foot steel T-post, heavy field wire, 2 signs, filmed the whole thing. That afternoon, Karen emailed again, short, sharp, threatened consequences, CC'd the board. I forwarded it to my lawyer and did nothing. That night, 2 vehicles parked just outside camera range. 4 people snuck in, flashlights, hushed voices. They tried the fence, no luck. Then they cut it, widened the gap, stepped through. All on camera. That was the trap. Next morning, I called the county. I need to report repeated criminal trespass and property damage. I have video. The deputy was an old hand. Walked the line, watched the footage, nodded. That's trespass and vandalism. Want me to talk to them? Not yet. I want an incident report and a case number. He raised an eyebrow. Most want a warning. Not me. He filed it, took photos, handed me the card, my first nail. If it happens again, it escalates. That's all I wanted. Karen's tone changed. Emails got longer, less bold, more seeking clarification. But she didn't stop. Tried to go around me, telling neighbors I'd blocked an emergency access. Claimed I was putting folks at risk. Now she was lying to justify trespass. A neighbor let me know. I wrote one line in my notebook, pattern established. Now it wasn't about fences. It was about intent. I sat down cool and calm, wrote another letter, this time to the whole board by name. No wiggle room, no to whom it may concern. Detailed the incidents, the sign, the cut wire, the fence, the case number, attached footage, timestamps, GPS. Gave them 30 days to remove everything, or it'd be considered abandoned. No threats, just reality. Had it notarized, sent 3 ways. Karen replied with an attorney in tow, toned softer words like, temporary relief and mediation. Suggested we pause, didn't mention the fence, the case number, or the video loud omissions. During those 30 days, I didn't sit idle. Gathered aerial photos, county records, checked every angle. No evidence of community use, no old path, no permission. Had the demolition crew on standby just in case. Karen's attorney sent a letter full of warnings, threats of irreparable harm. My lawyer just laughed. They're bluffing. If they were serious, they'd go to court. Deadline came, nothing happened. On day 31, I walked down, looked at the cabin, still there, still smug. But now, by law, abandoned. Some folks say let the courts handle it. Truth is, waiting helps the ones who are wrong. Every day that cabin stood, it grew more legitimate in people's minds. If you wait too long, judges freeze everything status quo. That's not justice, that's surrender. The law cares how you defend your land. Post signs, document, give notice. When the time comes, act. So I called the demolition crew. The clock's run out. They came Monday morning, no speeches, no drama, just a clean, methodical teardown, drone footage, documentation, everything above board. By 9:10, the cabin was gone. No rubble, just a bare patch of earth and an invoice taped to the stack of salvaged lumber left on the HOA's side of the fence. Karen showed up in the middle of it, white SUV, shouting phone up, demanding. I didn't argue. Handed her the file. You were notified. Case number's inside. Everything left was abandoned. She raged, but it was over. I told her I don't need to win. I just need the record to be accurate. That's when she knew she'd lost. The lawsuit came next, big envelope full of bluster and invented maps, no real evidence. Karen took to Facebook, local news, everything trying to spin the story. But this time I was ready. I laid out the facts for a reporter deed surveys footage. When the story aired, Karen barged into the TV studio yelling about tradition and community. The camera caught it all. The tide turned. Anonymous emails started coming in. HOA meeting minutes missing, private emails leaking. The cracks started to show. The quiet man from the first confrontation, the one who'd hesitated, he became my witness. In court, he told the truth. No vote, no permission. Karen had ordered everything, lied about it, and ordered folks to break the law. Karen lied on the stand, but the judge saw through it. We played the footage of her ordering the sign cut. The judge didn't waste time. This was no misunderstanding. This was deliberate. Mr. Bull, your actions were lawful. Karen, your actions are referred to the district attorney for review. Perjury, criminal trespass. The gavel fell, final quiet. After Karen's name vanished from the HOA website, her resignation letter trickled out, personal reasons. The board shuffled, the lawsuit disappeared. The land was quiet again. I walked down to the creek, coffee in hand, the air clean and still. Victory isn't loud. It's the return of silence to a place meant for peace. Before I left, I posted one sign at the trail. Nothing dramatic, just truth carved into wood, private land, no HOA authority. Then I walked home thinking about how peace isn't about winning arguments, it's about knowing where your boundaries are and when to stand your ground. So now I gotta ask, where do you draw your line? At what point does community become control? Drop your thoughts below, share your own story, or tell me if you think I went too far or not far enough. Justice boundaries land what matters most to you.